Good evening. If you saw me this morning on the Deerwood Realty live stream, you would have seen that I had a beard, and it's gone. It is gone, and I'm a little bit naked here. I'm sorry. Um, how are you tonight? Did you think I was coming back? I know I've been gone for a while. Last couple days, the real estate business just sometimes it's brutal, and it was this week. This weekend it was just tough. Just got some bad news before I came on, so that's always good. Probably shouldn't check your emails or something like that right now, but I did, and whatever. Tonight we're gonna have a good show. Why? Well, we don't have to take things so seriously at night. We can kind of wind it down a little bit. I've been going all day. I mean, just I got a lot done today. I'm proud of myself, but could have always done more, I guess. But anyway, how are you? I ask. I'd like to know. I think we can have a nice community chat. I think we can, kind of work through a lot of these employment issues together, and just kind of understand where we are in this odd space of employment. I've been using the term laptop class for, I don't know, maybe a couple months, and then a famous internet person yesterday put a definition for laptop class, and I thought it was pretty accurate. It just seems like, I don't like the way my banner looks there. I'm going to try and fix that. Let's see. Do I like that? Oh, that's even, no, this is good. That's what I want. But anyway, he'd put out a definition for laptop class that even Elon Musk had agreed to, and it's the one that I'm pretty familiar with and that I believe in as well. So kind of weird to see that, to be ahead of a trend or on a trend. But if I could say one thing, I think that people are starting to have a bit of disdain for the laptop class. The group of people that don't really ever do anything, they shuffle paper, and they wouldn't be able to to get that. I don't know. They wouldn't be able to get anything done. That's the key. I kind of understand it. Let me try and put forth what I see as a business owner. Not a very. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the best business owner ever. I've kept the doors open, but I mean, it's been a struggle. Even in real estate where everybody leaves, you make millions. Well, it's tough sometimes. But anyway, I've been, I started a number of businesses, and they've had various degrees of success. And there's things that I look for in people that I see when I'm in other organizations. So like if I'm visiting some company or something like that, or I have this, I know these people from something or something like that. But you'll go to an organization and you'll see people, and they'll always be kind of tucked away in their office, and they're always willing to write like a 7-page email about something, but you'll never ever see them come up to you and say something. And I don't mean that like, I'm not saying that we're trying to start a fight or anything like that. I'm just saying that if they have a problem with something that you do, their first move is to go on the computer, put an email in, and send it to a bunch of people, like some sort of formal framework for their discontent. Okay. And then you have people in the organization that will, like, you say, I need to get this done tomorrow, and it's done. Like there's no deep consideration or pondering. There's no concern of, what would so-and-so think? It just gets done. And I'm telling you, you want those people in your organization. You want people to get things done. You don't want the person that sits and ponders and ponders and ponders. Now you say, John, that's not a good thing for you to say. You are one of those people that ponders and ponders. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Is that why I'm not in the workforce? No. It crushes my soul, my heart. Even as I speak to you right now, I feel crushed by the how do I put it? Just the structure of most offices. I don't want to be the most popular guy in the office. I want to be the guy that gets stuff done and ponders. I think that future strategies are important in an organization. But anyway, you want those people that can get it done. You want those people that don't ask too many questions and just get it done. Now, I'm not saying that they should do illegal things. I don't think that they should step on people's necks just to get it done. I just know that what I see with these particular people is that you don't worry about them in an organization. They just get it done. And the laptop class would be that group that never gets anything done in an organization. They talk about things and they have meetings, and they're always happy to have one meeting after another, and they're happy to talk about their kid that's in private school, that is going to be a college, going to go to the Ivy League college and all this other crap. Never doing anything though. Always using big words. You don't really want that in an organization. I mean, so anyway, the laptop class, and I don't know. There's a lot more people in the laptop class than there are anybody that just gets things done anymore. I think it's a skill, and what's like, I've had, like I said, opportunities to succeed and fail in business, and it's a lot of experience. It's like internal to me, and it's weird. One of the things that I always read, in the mid 90s, I graduated high school, and from that time, maybe 10 years after that, people were in startup companies, and there were some big companies being created and things like that, and I was on the outside. I didn't live where the opportunity really was, and I remember though, one of the businesses I had failed, and they were talking about how Wall Street money, oftentimes when they would see a founder of an organization, they would support someone. They wanted to see someone who had failed because it's such a teaching moment. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's true now. Let me give you one example. Vishal Garg. He's the CEO of Better.com. I don't think that he'd ever failed in his life before he decided to try and fire 900 of his employees on a Zoom call. I just don't think he'd ever failed. I don't think that Wall Street ever even. I think that's one of the bigger differences in where capital goes now. I don't think that's like in my own space in the real estate brokerages that are being financed by the fat cats in Wall Street. They're not looking at those people as hey, I'm sure you've learned a lot to their failure. No, they're just propping them up for the bigger failure, basically. Enough rope to hang yourself on. And I think it'll be interesting to see, like in my space, where it goes in the real estate world, especially when things grind to a halt, which they will at some point in time, because this is not sustainable. And I tell my buyers that. I don't want you to think that I just make stuff up. I tell my buyers, look, we got to find a house that you can live in for at least the next 5 to 10 years and that you can be comfortable in. Anyway, with that, it was an introduction. Was it perfect? I don't know. It's very strange to me. I'm using the StreamYard software, and I was originally using Streamlabs and I still use it for my other podcast and my other live stream in the morning. Will I switch over? I want to, but boy, the picture was just terrible the other day. When I look at my camera, it's perfect. It's a beautiful picture. I look great. When I see it on YouTube, it is terrible, and it's even in 720. So anyway, let's do this. I have some articles, and I just would like to go over them with you and just kind of thought experiment, kind of expand on what we see, uh, comment on some things, and just go from there. So let me do that. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go to here, and here we go. Now I got to make sure back here. I don't like that. I never have. I like this one. So let's get to this article here. It says plea agreement says Robin Smith repeatedly lied to fellow legislators about a bogus mailer company and denied she was getting kickbacks. What I wanted to see on this one, or what I wanted to show this one, was, look, we've got politicians involved in business, which I think is like a double-edged sword, if you will. Probably the wrong word there, but it's like the worst of everything. But let's go over the article and see what we got here. It's a small paper that I got this from, so I don't expect it to be all right. The federal plea agreement for former Rep. Robin Smith says a bogus company she was touting to fellow legislators took in over $210,000, not counting kickbacks, paid to Ms. Smith and former House Speaker Glenn Quesada. The actual operator of Phoenix Solutions was Cade Cothran, a former Quesada aide known in the agreement as Individual 2. Now, this is going to be a little bit tough for us to understand, but so far we've got Glenn Quesada is Individual 1. Cade Cothran used to work for Glenn Quesada. He's number 2. The document says that Ms. Smith repeatedly lied to fellow legislators as she was trying to recruit to use Phoenix Solutions for mailings to constituents. She said the business was headed by a Matthew Phoenix, who she said had moved from Washington, D.C. to New Mexico. In fact, Cothran was running the firm in Nashville, and Matthew Phoenix was a made-up person. Cothran is the Cade Cothran, and he is a former Quesada aide. I say Quesada, I don't know his last name, how to pronounce it. I was just doing my best. So she also told legislatures that she was not making any money off of the deal when she was getting checks from Phoenix to her political consulting firm. The plea agreement says bills for the mailers were sent to New Mexico but forwarded on to Cothran's home in Nashville. It also says Cothran used his girlfriend to pose as a second fictitious employee of Phoenix Solutions, and that Ms. Smith later used emails between the two Phoenix employees in pressing for state payments to Phoenix. This is so illegal, and it's so impressively bad. Concerned that payments to Phoenix were being held up, Ms. Smith wrote state officials it would be either illegal or unethical to move to print without knowing payment was coming. So the bulk number is provided, or bulk permit number is provided on the invoice. Simpler, asking a firm to be liable for the cost with the printing completed before knowing payment may or may not be approved is suspect. Is there something going on? What I love is the person that's committing the crime is the one that's talking about ethics or being illegal. New Mexico was chosen as the location to set up Phoenix Solutions because it allows anonymous LLCs. Oh, that's nice. The plea agreement says Robin Smith was a member of the Tennessee House of Representatives, representing District 26, which included part of Hamilton County. She was first elected to the Tennessee House in November 2018. She also owned and operated a political consulting company called Company One. Company One provided political consulting, mail, and project management services. Individual One was a member of the Tennessee House, first elected in 2003, so a long history of being able to be corrupt. Individual One served as Speaker of the Tennessee House from in or around January 2019 until in or around August 2019. In around August 2019, Individual 1 resigned as Speaker after a scandal became public. Individual 1 also owned and operated a political consulting company called Company 2. Individual 1 started Company 2 in or around October of 2019 to provide fundraising services to political party 1. Individual 2 was a businessman and former chief of staff to Individual 1 when Individual 1 was Tennessee House Speaker. And now, why would you do that? I mean, why wouldn't you just name it? In 2019, multiple news forums published allegations that Individual 2 had committed inappropriate and illegal conduct. Based on public reporting, Individual 2 admitted certain allegations, and or about May 3rd, Individual 2 resigned his position as chief of staff. The state of Tennessee allocated Tennessee representatives $3,000 annually to fund postage and printing of items to be sent to the legislature's constituents. According to the Tennessee House guidelines, which is nothing. I used to spend $1,000 just mailing to people here in St. Louis. Representatives were permitted to use mailer program funds to design and mail legislative update mailers and legislative surveys to their constituents. Representatives were permitted to use campaign funds to offset additional expenses beyond the $3,000 allocated under the mailer program. Tennessee House Speaker's office had the authority to approve or deny a vendor to provide services on any mailing funding by the mailer program. In about November 2019, Individual 2 established Phoenix Solutions. Phoenix Solutions was established with Smith and Individual 1's knowledge and support for the purpose of offering mail-in consulting services for legislative members facing primary challengers, and was later expanded to offer constituent mail services to members of the Tennessee General Assembly. Smith, Individual 1, and Individual 2 told others, including members of the Tennessee General Assembly, and the House Speaker's office, that Phoenix Solutions was run by an individual named Matthew Phoenix. Smith, Individual 1, and Individual 2 claimed that Matthew Phoenix was an experienced political consultant who had worked for consulting firm 1, a real company based in Washington, D.C. In truth and fact, Individual 2 ran Phoenix Solutions, and Smith, Individual 1, and Individual 2 profited from it. Smith, Individual 1, and Individual 2 knew that Matthew Phoenix was a fictitious person and was, in truth and fact, Individual 2. Smith, Individual 1, and Individual 2 concealed Individual 2's involvement in Phoenix Solutions from the state and members of the Tennessee General Assembly due to the expectation that Phoenix Solutions would not be approved by the Tennessee House Speaker's office, acting on behalf of the Senate, or hired as a vendor by individual members if Individual 2's involvement was disclosed. Smith, Individual 1, and Individual 2 also concealed the fact that Individual 2 kicked back a portion of the profits from the state and members of the Tennessee General Assembly to Smith and Individual 1 due to the expectation that Phoenix Solutions would not be approved by the Tennessee House Speaker's office, acting on behalf of the state, or hired by a vendor if Individual 2's operational involvement and financial interest in the business and the kickbacks to Smith and Individual 1 were disclosed. Smith and Individual 1 received kickbacks from Individual 2 in exchange for using their positions as members of the Tennessee House of Representatives to perform official acts, including pressuring the Tennessee House Speaker's office to approve Phoenix Solutions as a mailer program vendor and disperse state funds to Phoenix Solutions. Individual 2, with Smith and Individual 1's knowledge, set up an email account for Matthew Phoenix, Matthew@powerphoenix.com, which Individual 2 used to conduct business on behalf of Phoenix Solutions. Individual 2 incorporated Phoenix Solutions as a limited liability company in New Mexico. Individual 2 set up a United States Postal Service post office box for Phoenix Solutions and there forwarded the mail received by that post office box to his home address in Nashville. Individual 2 later explained to Smith that he established the post office box in New Mexico because that state allows the anonymous registration of LLCs. In around January 2020, Smith was informed by an employee of the Tennessee House Speaker's office that the Speaker's office needed to work directly with the third-party vendor, which was a change in the existing guidelines employed by legislative members for constituent mail. Smith informed Individual 2 of this fact. Individual 2 was notified that the state could not pay Phoenix Solutions without an IRS Service Form W-9 on file. In response, Individual 2, assuming the identity of Matthew Phoenix to disguise his true identity, sent a W-9 signed by Matthew Phoenix from the Matthew@powerphoenix.com email address to the Tennessee House Majority Caucus Advisor for the purpose of filing with the state. On or about December 18th, Smith established and emailed Individual 2 referencing a potential future conversation related to Phoenix Solutions with a political party 1 employee regarding a campaign mailing list that each incumbent legislature was to receive. Smith told individual 2 that he may have to assume the role of Matthew again. Individual 2 responded to Smith, Matthew reporting for Da, and including a graphic interchange format, a GIF, picture of a salute from Harrison Ford character Han Solo in the movie Star Wars. On or about January 24th, Smith emailed individual 2 writing, we'll start with this, Matthew. You might expect some type of call or email. Smith copied an email chain between Smith, the acting chief of the House Speaker, and the General Assembly's Director of Legislation. In the email chain, Smith asked the officials about the status of the mailer program payments to Phoenix Solutions and why there was an issue in processing them. The acting chief of staff wrote Smith, I'm on it. Smith replied, don't crush her, but the Director of Legislation has been telling this vendor that the check's on the way for about 2 weeks. Smith falsely added, it's guys from consulting firm 1 who did mail 2 years ago that left and started their own gig. Tired of doing the DC Trump stuff, thanks. Smith then forwarded the email chain to individual 2, adding the message, shh. Individual 3 was individual 2's girlfriend. At times, individual 3 assumed the fictitious role of Candace, another alleged employee of Phoenix Solutions. On or about June 16th, individual 3 and individual 2 emailed each other as Candace and Matthew. The purpose of the email exchange was to falsely make it appear as if the 2 employees of Phoenix Solutions were having an exchange about the need to secure payment on outstanding mailer program invoices that the state had not yet paid. Individual 2, using the Matthew@powerphoenix.com email account, then forwarded the exchange to Smith. On or about January 22nd, 2020, Smith emailed the General Assembly's Director of Legislation, copying the active chief of staff to the House Speaker to complain about delays in mailer program payments from the state to Phoenix Solutions. Smith forwarded them to the June 16th, 2020 email exchange between Candace and Matthew, complaining about the delayed payments. Above that email chain, Smith wrote, I was CC'd on this last week. It would be either illegal or unethical to print without knowing payment was coming. So they asked if something was going on. Enclosed within Smith's email were invoices from Phoenix Solutions for legislative mailers on behalf of 2 representatives for $4,547 and $500 and $537. On or about May 2020, Smith discussed Phoenix Solutions with a member of the Tennessee House political party. Smith described Phoenix Solutions as a preferred survey mailer company. Smith falsely said that Phoenix Solutions was owned by Matthew Phoenix, an experienced Washington political consultant with whom Smith did business was when Smith used consulting firm number 1 for political work. Smith falsely said that Matthew Phoenix and his associate Candace got tired of living in the Washington, D.C. area and decided to move back home to New Mexico, where Phoenix started Phoenix Solutions. Smith falsely said that she used Phoenix Solutions because of the quality of its work. It's not that much longer. On or about August 10th, because it's like killing I can see all the people leaving my chat. Oh, wait a minute, there's no one there. On or about August 10th, 2020, Smith attended a meeting of the Political Party 1 House Campaign Committee. Present at the meeting were several Tennessee representatives, officials from the Speaker's office, and a committee consultant. Smith repeated the same false statements regarding Phoenix Solutions that she had made to the caucus member on May 20th. She also falsely told the committee members that she did not make any money from Phoenix Solutions. On or about April 20th, 2020, or April 2nd, 2020, individual 2 sent an email to Smith and individual 1. The email stated, friends, here's our top up-to-date printing spreadsheet. All these checks have been collected and deposited. All bills related to these print jobs have also been paid. So let me know what address is best for you, and I'll cut the checks for each of you. Individual 2 provided a breakdown of total profit earned from each client. Smith, individual 1, individual 2 shared the profits, with individual 2 earning 30%. Individual 1 and Smith each earned $4,143.64, which was 25% of the business each. Individual 2 wrote that the remaining 20% of the profit was left in the business. Individual 2 also discussed ways to cut Phoenix Solutions' future costs. Now, look, here's, I guess, my problem with this. If you're going to buy me, if you're going to buy my intelligence, if you're going to buy my who I am, it's going to cost a lot more than $4,000. A lot more. So, anyway, from on or about June 1st, 2020 through on or about December 1st, 2020, Phoenix Solutions took on more varied projects but continue to receive payments from the state-funded mailer program and campaign accounts of members in the General Assembly. During that time frame, a Phoenix Solutions bank account ending in some such number received revenue of approximately $158,000, excluding payments from campaign accounts associated with Smith and Individual 1. From about January 1st through on or about December 31st, Phoenix Solutions and Company 1, Company 2 received approximately $51,000 from the state in payments associated with the mailer program. On or about September 10th, Smith endorsed and deposited check number 170 dated December 16, 2020, in the amount of $12,116.96 from Phoenix Solutions account number into a bank account associated with Company 1. Individual 2 signed the check in his given name and wrote consulting on the memo line. The Speaker's office would not have approved any constituent mail services performed by Phoenix Solutions if Individual 2's ownership of Phoenix Solutions had been disclosed because of Individual 2's history of misconduct as Chief of Staff to the individual. Further, multiple members of the General Assembly would not have hired Phoenix Solutions for mailer program or campaign work if they had known that Individual 2 was involved in the operation of Phoenix Solutions and that Smith, Individual 1, and Individual 2 were secretly profiting from Phoenix Solutions. Smith, aided and abetted by others, including Individual 1 and Individual 2, having devised and intended to devise the above described scheme, and for the purpose of executing the scheme, transmitted and caused to be transmitted by means of wire communication, interstate commerce, writings, signs, signals, pictures, and sounds. The agreement says the government will base its sentencing recommendation regarding Ms. Smith partially on the level of her cooperation, including appearances before the grand jury. So, what was the point of that? Well, my point is, hey, politicians, doesn't have to be a political party. We don't know the political party of these outfits. Crooked, unethical. And I want you to understand, like, you know, ethics is hard. It doesn't seem that hard, but, you know, these people were in a spot where they had an advantage. They had ins. They had communications. And they used those. They used those connections. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Moving on. United Airlines will let unvaccinated employees return to their jobs this month. United last year established the airline industry's first and strictest COVID vaccine mandate. Workers who received an exemption on medical or religious grounds were placed on unpaid leave. More than 96% of United's roughly 67,000 workers were vaccinated. United Airlines, citing a steep decline in COVID cases, told staff Thursday that it would allow unvaccinated workers to return to their jobs starting March 28th, a shift from a company that had one of the country's strictest inoculation mandates. In August, United States said it would require U.S. employees to be vaccinated against COVID or face termination. More than 96% of United's roughly 67,000 workers were vaccinated. And let me just put it out there to you. These employees are represented by a union. Why did the union not step up for these employees? What is the job of the union if it can't stand up for its employees? They're supposed to be representing them. Who allowed this to happen at the union? And should they stay at the head of the union? I don't think so. In January, CEO Scott Kirby said the company didn't have any COVID deaths among unvaccinated workers over the past 8 weeks, despite a surge of cases in the Omicron variant, which has since subsided. United said the roughly 2,200 workers who received exemptions on medical or religious grounds would go on unpaid leave or be moved to non-customer-facing roles. For example, unvaccinated flight attendants couldn't work their regular jobs. Roughly 200 employees were fired for not being vaccinated or having an accommodation and will not be asked back. A federal judge in Texas upheld United's vaccines mandate in November after 6 employees sued to block it 2 months earlier. But the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals last month ruled that the federal judge must reconsider the injunctions the workers sought. On Thursday, United sought to vacate that ruling and dismissed the appeal because of the lessening severity of the pandemic and its new policy. In light of these changed circumstances, plaintiff's preliminary injunction motion is moot, and the court should vacate the panel opinion and dismiss the appeal. I disagree with that. They used this crap judgment to punish their employees, to fire their employees. And now they're going to say, oh, because the virus isn't that bad now, we're not going to move forward. No, you need to get a good whooping from the courts, like really whooping, because let's be honest, you use the courts to your advantage when you could. A drop in new COVID cases, hospitalization, and loosening of masking requirements in many states suggests the pandemic is beginning to meaningfully recede. Kirk Lamacher, Vice President of Human Resources, said in a staff note, as a result, we're confident we can safely begin the process of returning staff with exemptions back to their jobs. Of course, now you fired people. You put other people on leave. Of course, if another variant emerges or COVID trends suddenly reverse course, we will reevaluate the appropriate safety calls. Look, here's what I wanted to talk about in this particular article, or what I wanted to talk about, and that is set aside this particular issue of what happened, okay, as far as the reasons for it. Let me ask you this. Let's say you were a loyal employee of an organization and your organization said, we don't like you. You are going to go on unpaid leave for indefinitely, and we're going to just go on without you. Okay. Not going to get paid. We're going to do this. You may have a union, but we're just going to run right over them. We don't care. How would you respond? How would your workplace morale be when they finally called you and said, hey, come on back to work, and pretended that nothing happened? I wouldn't be too happy about that. I would maybe pick a different career field. And you say, well, they get paid a lot of money. I don't know what they get paid. I don't know what they pay. I don't think it matters. American Airlines, not a great company in this case. Or I'm sorry, United Airlines. I'm sorry. I said the wrong word. I don't know anything about American, but United Airlines ran right over their union. The union must have allowed it because they didn't say a word. And this is why I don't have any sympathy for the corporation or the people that made these decisions. And to the workers that have been asked back, congratulations, but I'm sure you guys know what's up. And terrible situation. So let's move on. I just thought that was an interesting article. This was a very odd article, and I wanted to go over it. It says there are more than 11 million open jobs in America right now, and workers have the upper hand. So do you believe that? If that were true, then why didn't the American was it United? Why didn't the United workers go and tell the bosses and the CEOs to pound sand on their decrees? It's not true. You never have the upper hand as an employee. Don't kid yourself. The labor market is seeing sustained pressure where there are tons of job openings, new hires, and people leaving all at once, which is proving to be great for job seekers and tough for hiring managers. In January, there are 11.3 million job openings, 6.5 million hires, and 6.1 million separations. Openings increased in other services, which range from auto workers to hairstylists to laundry workers and in durable goods manufacturing, while hiring remained steady from the previous month. The total number of people who quit voluntarily edged down to 4.3 million people, or 2.9% of the labor force, which is down from a record high in November, but still incredibly elevated and signals people feel confident about finding a better job. Quits decreased in retail trade and in information, but increased in finance and insurance. Now, I don't think that people quit their jobs because they feel confident about finding a better job. I think they just hate. Their job. I think that they just don't want, I mean, they hate the job so bad that they don't even care if the other job is worse. It's just better than being in that horrible place. Elise Gould, senior economist with the Economic Policy Institute, noted that the rate of hiring remains higher than the rate of quitting in any industry, which means that when people quit, they're moving to better jobs in the same industry rather than switching careers or leaving the workforce, like the United workers. Why people quit. Americans said their biggest reasons for quitting in the last year were low pay, a lack of career advancement, and because they felt disrespected at work, according to a report from the Pew Research Center. Organizations have raised wages and worked on retention efforts through the Great Resignation, but San Francisco-based therapist says companies need to recognize another point of friction causing employees to quit company leadership. She says the pandemic has made people reevaluate how they want to spend their time and who they want to spend it with. She adds that people are questioning traditional workplaces that reward psychopathic traits in leaders, like seeking recognition, being self-centered, and having a high sense of entitlement. People don't want to be engaged in these dynamics, and they're sick and tired of trying to please these types of people. The Pew survey also finds people who quit their job for a new job say their new role offers them better pay, more opportunities for advancement, and more work-life balance and flexibility. Well, they believe that. I mean, that's what they were told. I don't know if it's actually true. Man, I really would have liked, I wanted to get a certain thing and it didn't work out well. Job seekers have a lot of leverage. Recruiters are fighting to hire for historically high openings and backfill for people moving to new jobs. As of January, there are roughly 6 job seekers for every 10 openings, or nearly 2 open roles for every available worker. And I don't have a job in the corporate world. Like, nobody wants me. It's kind of sad. The problem right now is there aren't enough bodies to fill jobs. You know, I almost kind of wonder, though. Anyway, without a major change in the labor force participation rate or employer behavior, like deciding they are willing to let positions stay empty instead of hiring for them, it seems unlikely things will change. Well, maybe the laws are bad in the United States. Maybe we need to look at employment law. Maybe we need to look at immigration law. Throughout the pandemic, many workers, especially women and caregivers, have been unable to join the labor force due to ongoing child care challenges and the health concerns over the virus. The U.S. labor market added 678,000 jobs in February, with the largest gains in hard-hit sectors, including leisure and hospitality, education and health services, and professional and business services. Services jobs, fascinating. The February jobs report indicates that the job market is healthy and resilient and ebbs and flows of the pandemic. Glassdoor senior economist Daniel Zhao told CNBC, "We've seen that job gains have been over 400,000 for 10 months in a row." I just wonder if Zhao has any sort of political affiliation, or if CNBC has got any sort of political affiliation. The overall unemployment rate fell to 3.8% in January, but remains high for some groups, broken down by race, which is terrible to do. Jobless rate is 6% for black workers, 4% for Hispanic workers, 3% for white workers, and 3.1% for American and Pacific Islander workers. I don't know. Do you believe this? Do you believe that there's all these jobs available that you can just go get a job, like you can, buy something off the rack, like cereal or something? I don't. Rise in hours worked signals post-lockdown recovery, but more people have multiple jobs than ever. I thought that this was a good idea. So look, the article is more than 1 month old, and I don't care. I'm okay with that. And you know why? Because I thought it was an interesting thing. To me, multiple jobs is a bad thing, because it signals that you can't afford to pay someone what they're worth, and they're having to find that worth somewhere else. Record 6.4 of workers in more than one job, a sign that wages are not keeping pace with the cost of living. I think that's true. Joe Biden whispers into the microphone every once in a while, and I'm trying it now. Is it creepy? The end of last year saw a nice jump in the number of hours being worked, but the latest labor account figures released on Wednesday by the Bureau of Statistics reveal that there are now more people working multiple jobs than ever before. Since the dark days of the pandemic in the middle of 2020, it's fair to say that the economy has recovered well. And it's not fair to say that. And better than most economists expected. No, it just depends on what armband you're wearing. Recessions are horrendous things that generally destroy work for many years, even once the economy is back growing. The COVID recession was different because it was largely government decided recession. Yes. People and businesses had to stop work and had to stop moving across borders to protect the spread of COVID, and that's why we had a recession. Okay. That's what your narrative is. But while the job recovery has been better than expected, when we look at what type of work has grown, we see some big concerns. This has been true for years. Like you're now figuring it out, eh? In the last 3 months of 2021, the number of hours worked increased a very solid 4.3%. That was to be expected. Given the September quarter last year, the number of hours worked fell from 4.8% due to the lockdown in New South Wales and Victoria. But the number of jobs increased only 3.4%, and the number of people employed increased only 3.3%. While this tells us that there's not just a return to more work being done by people in existing jobs, there's also an increase in the number of people working a second job. In fact, the number of main jobs rose 2.8% December quarter of 2021. The number of secondary jobs rose 11.5%. It would not be so bad if it were one off, but it is a trend that we have been seeing not just during the pandemic for the last 8 years. There is now a greater percentage of people with more than one job than ever before. In December of the quarter, 6.4% of employed people had secondary jobs, up from 5.2% in the middle of 2014 and 5.7% at the time of the last federal election. Since the last federal election, the government can say that 400,900 jobs have been created, but nearly a third of them are jobs being worked by somebody who already has a job. A strong growth in a secondary job is not a sign of a healthy economy. No one takes a second job because they've got nothing better to do with their time. You take it because you're not getting enough income from your main job, whether because the hour rate is poor, there's not enough hours available to work. I agree. It has not been a feature of job growth since the coalition government came power in 2013. Like, this is a world article, okay? I don't want you to think that this isn't got anything to do with the United States, but it does because it's happening everywhere. Usually, the second and main jobs grow around the same rate, but during the Abbott, Turnbull, Morrison years, secondary job growth has far exceeded that of the main jobs of 30%. And the reason, working one job is not enough to pay the bills. The real compensation per job is now lower than it was in 2012. Take away the boost from the pandemic stimulus, which is now dissipated, and real compensation per job had not gone up for nearly a decade. The reason of this growth of part-time jobs in the past that would have been full-time but now are offering under 30 hours a week, and the declines in wages growth. As a result, people are needing to work more hours in another job. Unfortunately, right now, we're not seeing much improvement, even when we look at the compensation per hours worked. In the last 3 months of last year, real compensation for each hour worked fell sharply for most workers, and on average fell 0.5% for all workers through 2021. Since the last federal election, productivity has risen 4.4%, but real hourly compensation has increased just 1.6%. This suggests that wages are not growing as fast as they should be. Both the Secretary of the Treasury and the Governor of the Reserve Bank have told parliamentary committees that real wages should grow at a rate of productivity, and doing so places no pressure on inflation. But since the last election, only 6 industries have had real hourly compensation grow faster than productivity. And some of those industries, such as manufacturing, real compensation has actually fallen while productivity has grown. It is clear that workers are not being properly rewarded for their efforts, and inevitably this has led to more people than ever finding they need to work more jobs and work more hours than to make ends meet. Well, what do we do? What do we do? This is the Australian economy. Why are so many of these policies, like, why did they happen across the world? Like, why did we just copy them? I mean, it's almost like it was planned. I have people in my family that are working 2 jobs. I feel bad. I, I mean, it used to be like people, like I know some, I don't know how to say it. It used to people picked up extra hours just, to have something to do and kind of enjoy themselves doing something like a bartender, work at a normal job during the day and then go be a bartender at night. And that was fine. It worked out. But there's something more sinister about this. I mean, how many days can you effectively work, or how many hours can you effectively work in a week? It's not a good situation. I'm just checking on my stats, making sure everything's in good shape. Okay. I do kind of want to see this. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing what I need to see. I'm afraid to go where I'm going because it's not the right spot. Okay, here we go. So let's go on to another article. I think we might wrap it up here. I'm not sure. But I thought this was interesting. It says it's not worth it. Rising gas prices force drivers to work for less than minimum wage. Drivers already hit by low wages and poor working conditions are spending more time driving to keep their wages the same. This is out of California. By Tuesday afternoon, Lyft driver Alita Zabletta had earned $100 in the 5 hours she spent ferrying passengers across the city of San Jose. With gas prices in California surging, she'd have to use more than half of that to cover her fuel for the day, leaving her with just $45. The rising cost of gas has made it a difficult job all the more difficult. Zabletta said, forcing her to spend more time behind the wheel to earn enough to afford living in one of the country's most expensive cities. U.S. gas prices have reached record highs in recent weeks, surged in part by the fallout of Russia's invasion of Ukraine after having already been high for months. California drivers are paying the most in any country, an average of $5.57 a gallon. And people are supposed to want to live in California, like they're paying more for gas than anyone else, and it's because of their own policies. Rising prices are hitting gig workers particularly hard as fuel makes up the large part of their daily costs. Uber and Lyft drivers are already struggling after the pandemic hit both wages and working conditions. Say paying more at the pump means they have to spend more time driving in order to achieve the same level of pay. Some are spending more than 60 hours a week working, and some say driving is simply no longer profitable. That's what I hate, is people working and not getting paid for it. Zabletta, who was driven for Lyft for 2 years and also works as an organizer with gig workers. Now we're getting conflict of interest, but fine. Organizer with gig workers rising paid $5.20 a gallon to fill up this week. Meanwhile, factoring in the cost of gas, her income came out to about $9 an hour, far below the San Jose's minimum $16.20 wage. Zabletta routinely spends as many as 50 hours a week behind the wheel, giving herself just one day off and is working more to cover the increasing costs. So, to me, she should stop driving. I mean, that's the only way that the wage will go up, is if there's some sort of limit in the workforce. It says, even before gas prices started rising, pay was becoming increasingly unpredictable driving for Lyft. She previously drove 5 days a week, but with fewer passengers during the pandemic and fewer bonuses from Lyft, Zabletta had to work an extra day to her week in order to maintain the same level of income. Companies such as Lyft aren't doing enough to help drivers. Gotta check this. I'm sorry. This job should be something the worker should enjoy doing. This is a job that's high risk, and we're putting our lives on the line every day. That's what she says. Other drivers said that without increased wages or other support from rideshare companies to help alleviate the burden of fuel costs, driving will no longer be worthwhile. Radu Ganat started working as a rideshare driver in the San Francisco Bay Area in 2018 to supplement his income, but beginning driving full-time after his teaching job left him burnt out. Since then, wages have only dropped. And without the bonuses the companies offer, the job wouldn't be profitable at all. We're at the point where we need the companies to pay bonuses every week just to make the job sustainable. Who is also, boy, this is just a plant of an article, isn't it? The normal pay rate is too low, so in addition to driving during the day, he routinely returns to the road at night when surge pricing is in effect. The high price of gas has made the job more challenging. My costs are higher, my pay is the same, so I'm losing money. That's a mathematical reality. This is hilarious. Like, I mean, this is just fascinating. Benjamin Valdez, who drives part-time for Uber and Lyft in Los Angeles and works as an organizer with Rideshare Drivers United, says he hasn't given up for 2 weeks, he hasn't driven for 2 weeks because of the high gas prices. When fuel costs go up, drivers stay out on the road for longer in order to try to make a profit, which means there's more competition for rides. So, like, what I would like in an article talking about things, I would like someone that's not part of a Workers United group that is working in the industry to also give their opinion, rather than every single person in the article being for a political movement. California's governor has said he will propose a tax rebate to help the state's drivers grapple with the increasing cost at the pump. Drivers are also hoping to see companies in Lyft and Uber take steps to help support them amid the high prices, which experts say will continue for months. Organizers with Rideshare Drivers United are petitioning the rideshare companies to raise competition and set the rates fairly in equity because of our increased costs. Another Uber driver and organizer. Boy, they're all organized. They're all leaderships. They're not just members. Weird. When asked if Lyft would offer additional support to drivers as fuel costs increase, Lyft spokesperson said it had taken concrete steps to help, including fuel cashback program run in partnership with Get Upside. Macklin also said that U.S. drivers were now seeing a greater average hourly pay than they were a year ago, even with high fuel prices, as more riders return to the platform. Uber did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Vitaly Konstantinov, who drives for Uber in San Diego and works with Rideshare Drivers United, said rising costs have forced him to dip into his family's budget and cancel a trip to Disney. Oh, no, you can't go to Disneyland. I haven't ever been able to go to Disneyland. Suck it up. He had planned for his young children, exactly looking for other jobs. It's not worth driving for Uber anymore. He said this other person said he was also considering leaving the industry. It's unsustainable for me to feel comfortable in this industry right now. I feel the vulnerability. I see how reliant I am on them to give me a bonus. I see how low the rate is. I can't work 16 hours every day. I'm going to burn out. It's physically demanding to be tired, drinking coffee, under resting, and driving morning and night. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Let me see if I can do something. Now, don't make fun of me. I might be a boomer. Oh, DuckDuckGo. Ugh, I gotta get rid of that. Let's look up Uber. Is Uber a public company? I don't know. Let's see. Oh yeah, Uber and Lyft. Okay. Let's look at their stock for the past year. Well, it's going down. Let's look at it for the past 1 year. Well, it was as high as $60 in April, and it's been cut in half. That's not good. Earnings per share, negative 28 cents. What about Lyft? Maybe they're doing better. Oh, look at that. That was for a day. Oh, look at that. I'm sorry. Let me get better. That was a month. Oh, boy. So up here, what, 63 again? Down to 30. Cut in half. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when costs in your industry go up? I think I'm going to put us back on our regular screen here. Here we go. What do you do? And that's been my problem with every single industry that there is. Okay. If the market is good for you, okay, like you do awesome and you can afford to pay your employees more. But if you pay them too much, when things go south, then you're at a bad situation. You're in a bad position. Now, I think the executives in a lot of companies just go ahead and say, you know what, I'm here for the ride. Like I'm good. But I think that the workers are the ones that get punished. I mean, there's going to be layoffs when the industry goes down. I mean, it's just a reality of work, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Do I think that Uber and Lyft don't want to pay their workers more money? I think that the idea was, hey, we have this technology. We don't have to spend a lot of money. It's software. And the people that are actually doing the work, we're just going to handle the payment processing. And we're going to beg the taxi unions across the United States. Well, success. Yay. I don't know. I like the idea. So the juxtaposition between the two articles, one in which people were not working in a full-time, like they were working full-time and then working part-time somewhere else. This was in Australia. This was an indication that the economy was weak. To me, it's the same thing in the United States when you have somebody that is either working at a lower skilled job than possibly they can manage. For instance, if you were a teacher and now you're being an Uber driver because you're burnt out, it's like pay is probably higher as a teacher, but not during the bad times not during the good times of Uber and Lyft. But now that it's not good times because of direct cost inputs, it's probably better to be a teacher. But I don't, unlike many, I don't want to sound vicious, but before I came on, I lost an offer for a house. We wrote an offer and we didn't get it. That's a check that I'm not going to get. On Friday, I'm not going to pay myself anything this Friday. It's no money. But I choose to do it. Now, do I start a union or a workplace organization effort so that I can be compensated? No. It's just part of being a real estate agent and real estate broker. It sucks. And that's where I have a little bit of trouble understanding where these people are coming from, because I've invested many thousands of dollars into my business, probably more than 100. Self-financed it. When things are going well, I have to take money and just put it in savings so that when things go south, I have enough money to live through it. Okay. This is what it is. This is what happens when you're a small business owner. It's the norm. It's expected. And similarly, these jobs, these people are taking, Lyft and Uber, these are small businesses. They're micro businesses. They're you and your automobile, and you're getting leads, quote unquote, from Uber and Lyft. They're handling the transaction portion of it. If you can't hack it, you got to go. You got to leave. And as far as Uber and Lyft, like, they don't appear to be making any money on there, at least on the quarter that I saw. So how long can a company stay where they're losing money? I don't know. I just know that it does seem like I like the ability, like I said, when I used the bartender earlier, like, you bartend once a night or once a week and you kind of have a good time with your friends and it's good. Same thing with Lyft. I don't have any problem, but I mean, with a problem that I've found during my life is that jobs that were never intended to be full-time jobs by people ended up being full-time jobs. And you say, what do you mean by that? People that work in fast food, never meant to be a full-time job. Uber and Lyft, never meant to be a full-time job. DoorDash, never meant to be a full-time job. And that's what's like, I mean, when people get stuck in these jobs, I mean, like, I don't understand how they don't know any better. Not as a criticism of them. Like, they're not dumb, but it's just like, it's not going to work. Unionizing Lyft and Uber is not going to fix the fundamental problem of when gas prices are high and you're on a platform bidding against someone else for a job. It's not going to go well. It's going to be a race to the bottom. Anyway, I am beat. I've had a long day. I'm super tired. And I'm going to go to bed. I want to thank you for watching. I think I have every reason to believe I'll be here tomorrow night. I mean, I will lose. If I lose out on another contract, I'll be even more sad. But I'll get through it. So anyway, thank you for watching. I know you're not going to watch right now. I know that the algorithm is going to take time for it to brew. But thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow night. Check me out on Twitter at @ouremployment. That's where I will put updates as to my plans on streaming. If you don't see that the stream is coming up on my channel, Our Nature of Employment. With that, I'm out. Thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Be there.